Well, looking down this hill, and it's a pretty good sized hill. You can get a lot of speed on it with a pair of skis, but believe it or not, back in the early 70s, 71, 72, this is the site of the first snowboard downhill competition in the world. I know it's hard to believe. There should be some big shrine built here by some snowboard organization, but the Snurfer was actually developed in Muskegon. It was like a prehistoric snowboard. It had a rope on it, and you rode it just like a snowboard, but you didn't have bindings on your feet. You just stood on the board, and then you hung onto that rope so you could kind of do like a wheelie. And they had a starting gate up there with timers. They had booths set up. Every competitor had numbers. We were all, of course, totally amateurs. I was like 18, 19 years old. I don't know. Supposedly my buddy Ted Slater, who's a friend of mine, a big skier that works out at Telluride, gave me this hat. He won the first competition, the first year. Now, I didn't know Ted Slater at the time, but then he showed me some of the newspaper articles from where the Muskegon Chronicle said that, he did win the first international snowboard competition. Well, I was in the first one too. I didn't do very well. I finished in the middle of the pack. The problem was staying on the board. It was just so hard. I mean, when you got down into this area right here, I mean, you were already going pretty fast, and then you hit this mound and away you went. I see somebody's got a little slide bar here for hitting it with a snowboard or something, like a jump. But we've already done a pretty good fair amount of hill here, a couple 100 feet maybe, and if you made it down this far, you were in pretty good shape, because the finish line was like right where that ridge is right there, and then beyond that was the runoff after that. And very few people made it all the way to the bottom without wiping out, because nobody knew how to snowboard. It was just something that was just so totally new. And the timer gates were down here. I had a friend that went to Reese Puffer. I thought his name was something like Mike Medendorf or something like that. He was really good. If he didn't win that first one, I'm sure he won the second one or the third one. Now, the second time they had the international snowboard competition out here, I broke through the starting line on a pair of downhill skis and whipped down this course like it was nothing, just to show everybody that skiing was just so much more easier to do than snowboarding. But we all know where snowboarding is today. I mean, the Snurfer got sold to Burton. Burton grew exponentially. I mean, it kind of spitted and stuttered a few times, you know, snowboarding. People were banning snowboarding, of course, at different ski resorts, but today it's a huge part of the industry. It's a big part of the winter sports that I know so well, that industry. And here you go. It's all right here on this little hill. And thank you, Sherm Poppin, for developing the Snurfer. And my name is Tom Spoolman, and I'm in Muskegon, Michigan, at Blockhouse Hill. We call this the Blockhouse Hill, or one of them, because the Blockhouse is right over there, the old French fort. I'll take a picture of that, but yep, this is where it all started. Muskegon State Park. Did you get that, bud? Now we're standing on the site of the one and only ski jump that used to be in Muskegon. This was the landing area here, and then there's the runoff. Now, when I was a little boy, I remember coming out here many times, and you could still see some of the old boards, because I would say that if I'm kind of in the landing area right now, the jump would have been somewhere up where Buddy is, and then the lip somewhere in here, and then the landing. So what I'm looking for is some really, really old timber that's probably been taken out of here over the years. So far I don't see anything. What's this over here? Looks like maybe an old... Nope, that's wood. Pretty steep in here. I never went over the jump. It was already dilapidated 40 years ago. I see there's a lot of foot traffic out here. Oh, I gotta turn this off. Wow. After all these years, I finally find Hidden Lake. It's crazy. It's a big lake down there. And the way it's positioned with Muskegon Lake over there, it's got to be Hidden Lake. No wonder we could never find it. We were always going in the wrong direction. It's crazy. But there it is. Got some ice on it. It's just beautiful out here. I have no idea where I'm at, but I'm in Muskegon State Park, so I don't think I've ever been on this ridge before, unless we sat on this ridge before, because this kind of looks familiar. Crazy. Wow. Hidden Lake. So here we are at the Blockhouse. It says we're going to close it down if you keep vandalizing it. We're going to lock that door. We're going to close those windows so people can't come crawling in. We can't put up with any more vandalism here at the Blockhouse. Of course, we never wanted to vandalize it. We thought it was cool. I thought that was styrofoam. It's wood. I grew up my whole life here playing at the Blockhouse. I mean, I grew up in Muskegon, and here we are, right here in Muskegon. You can see all of Lake Michigan out there. It wasn't really a fort. It's just, it was made up to be a fort. The French never built this fort. They never looked out for the British, like the story goes, to come sailing up the coast of Lake Michigan. There was never any war going on here. The only war that might have happened in Muskegon might have been fighting over the channel or some cove on Muskegon Lake over there, something like that, but there was never, or a bar stool, there was never any fighting anywhere in this area, not that I know of. Not with the Indians. Of course there were plenty of Indians around here. Ottawa, Probably Ojibwas from Traverse City. There's a lot of trading going on there, out on the big lake, canoeing. It's a rough water, you know, but you could just beach your canoe, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how they got around, but it's pretty cool though, having that old blockhouse there. Yes, it did get burned down in 1962. Yep, they caught the 4 boys that did it. It was in the big news in the paper. Yes, one of them is a friend of mine. His name is Jim Bauer. He's a member of the yacht club. He regrets it, I'm sure, every day of his life. And the boys, when they got caught, I don't know how they got caught, somebody squealed on them. They burned it right down to the ground, the original one. And they rebuilt it. And this is the one that they built right there, like in 1964, 1965. But it was just such a big deal that somebody burned down the blockhouse. And it's vulnerable, you know, because there's kooky people out there. Who knows, somebody might get an idea someday that, you know, it's part of the establishment or something, and they might want to burn it down. I don't know. But here we are in Muskegon State Park.